Sexual harassment is any form of unwelcome sexual behavior that is offensive, humiliating, and intimidating. Most importantly, it's against the law. Both men and women are victims of sexual harassment, but women are mostly affected. Sexual harassment could occur at home, school, work, or anywhere. Welcome to yet another episode of Mata Africa. I'm Zuwaira Hamza, and discussing this topic today with me is a beautiful and a hardworking woman. She's a human resource consultant. Welcome.
Thank you, Zuwaira.
Mrs. Lucy
it's good
Ora.
to be in your show this morning.
What do you understand by sexual harassment?
Yeah, sexual harassment, to my own understanding, it's unwelcome sexual behavior or behavior that that could take place in any place. It could take place in the workplace. It can take place, just like you said in your opening. I think sexual harassment is something that is unwelcomed.
Yes.
That's the most important, the most striking point there. It's something that the other party does not welcome, and then, I think that's what sexual harassment is all about.
Okay, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, you tell us more that we need to know. Please stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned, and if you're just joining us, this is Mata Africa on Television Nigeria. We're discussing on sexual harassment, and my guest is still much available. So, ma'am, what do you think are the main causes of sexual harassment?
Some people over the years, I've got to hear a lot of people come up with different perspective of what they think is the cause of sexual harassment. But in the real terms, sexual harassment is a mental issue. It's something that has to do with your personality. It's something that has to do with the individual that is actually
being sexually harassed.
Not being sexually harassed, the person that is harassing. It has nothing to do with the victim. It has nothing to do with, I don't think there are causes by the victim that should cause sexual harassment. That's my understanding. You get to hear a lot of people come up with, it's the way you're dressing, it's the way you spoke, it's the way you left your hair, it's the transparent clothes you're wearing, and things like that. But I don't think that's the cause of sexual harassment. Because I feel if you're someone with character, if you're someone with that is mentally stable, if you're someone that is has integrity, no matter how anybody appears, and this I'm talking about applies to men or women, because both parties are sexually harassed. It does not matter how you're dressed. It does not matter how you portray yourself. The most important thing, the problem, is the person who commits the crime, not the victim herself. Because when you hear of sexual harassment, and you take us to the kids who are sexually harassed, because I've seen cases where kids of 8 years, 9 years,
3,
as low as 9 months, actually, we've had such cases in Nigeria here. Did they sexually harass? Is there anything that they did to bring that upon themselves? So there's no really actual cause for sexual harassment from the victim. The real cause for sexual harassment is the mental issues and the state of mind of the penetrator.
Okay, now moving forward. It's often said that do you think the society has contributed to it? Because these days people find it hard to speak out. They believe maybe when they come out to speak, they will be mocked or so. Like, for example, now you said something about being the way you dress shouldn't prompt anyone to harass you. But funny enough, the society will still put the blame on the individual. It could be a male or a female. You understand? So what do you think? Do you think the society has caused more harm?
I think, to where I wouldn't put it in causing more harm. I would say that this is, because I'm going to use from where I'm from as an example. And coming from being an African woman, being someone who grew up in Africa, especially Nigeria, because I feel if you grow up in Nigeria, it's the toughest part of Africa to grow up from, actually. And being someone who grew up here, I would say that the society has contributed a lot to a lot of people going into their shells. Why do I say that? It goes back, like I give you a typical example of in Igbo land. when growing up, everybody says you have to marry a virgin. No man should have touched you. Don't talk about men. Don't talk about sex. It's something. Oh, keep quiet. Before you even say it, you're slapped to the mouth. Like, shut up. And with that, you find out a lot of girls. I could tell you, maybe in the 90s, 80s, I could tell you that if you check statistics, we have over 70 or 80% of women sexually harassed. But because you're not allowed to say, the society frowns at you saying it. They feel it's something that shouldn't be said. And this goes to men too, because sometimes you find out men can't stand and say that to their friends because they feel you come out, a guy come out and says, oh, this lady sexually harassed. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? You should be the one doing the acting, But of course, we've had cases. The majority of cases we've recorded in the country is women. Okay. So you find out that the society, our parents, our mothers, have made it in such a way that we keep quiet.
Yes. Now, moving forward, there's a scenario whereby I heard a story of a lady. She works with the same guy in the same environment, and she was being sexually harassed, But she kept it to herself for a pretty long time, and when it was too much for her to bear, she spoke out and she cried for help. So we asked her, like, you've been going through this for a long time and you just kept it to yourself, and she was like, yes, because she has been gaining some little benefit. I was like, no, you can't put yourself in a situation whereby because of the little things. And funny enough, when asked what are the things you have been gaining that made you to keep quiet,
things
you
that
were like soap, cream, and the rest. I was like, for these things you have kept quiet and enjoy the humiliations. No. So at what point do you think people should cry out?
I think, just talking from the perspective you're coming from, as someone who has practiced HR for the past 10 years, I've been a HR professional for the past 10 years. I'm going to tell you that workplaces sexual harassment is a delicate issue. Okay. Why I say it's very delicate is, it's just like your boss sexually harassing you. First of all, your boss is richer than you, obviously, to have employed you. He has more powers. He's well connected than you. And in Africa, because I always want to use Africa as a point of reference, because a lot of people will tell you it doesn't happen there, but it's a different scenario when you come down to home. Yeah. So you find out that a lot of ladies who don't speak out, it's not that they don't want to speak out.
Okay. So what's the cause?
The cause is, it's a natural cause. I'll tell you. Why I say it's a natural cause is, he's your boss. Sometimes people are afraid of, if I come out, I will lose my job. If I come out with this case, even fly in the police. With the police, believe me. So there are lots of things that the environment chokes into you. And if I lose this job, how am I sure I'm getting another job? Considering the unemployment in the society. So you find out that these victims are vulnerable. It's just like human trafficking that we hear every other day. And people are like, why do you have to go to Libya? Don't you know this? But these people are vulnerable in such a way that that's why the law protects them. Because we see them as vulnerable victims. So you don't really judge them based on their perspective at the moment, because it's almost like a helpless human. And coming to your question where you say, when do you speak out? Speak out the moment you feel you should speak out. Speak out the moment it happens. But a lot of women, it's not easy to speak out at the moment, but just always know, anytime you speak out about it, it's not late.
Yeah. Okay, moving forward, as a human resource consultant, how do you handle cases? You said 10 years, it has been a long journey, so how have you been able to
like in my workplace, I wouldn't tell you, just like I'm going to go back to this society thing, I'm not going to stay here and say it has all been easy. We just, take them to the police and it's done and all that. First of all, the things we do is to educate employees about, sexual harassment. You need to know your rights. You need to know that And of course, the organization I work is boldly written. We don't stand for it. The board of directors don't support it, and they don't stand for it. So, and we always encourage people to come up. In cases, I've had a few cases where ladies come up to say they are sexually harassed by their direct supervisors and all that. Of course, we go through the board and we let the law take its case in some cases. And I feel once you're able to prove yourself in the court, in the law, it's always a win-win for the victim.
Okay. Let's go on a quick break, and when we return, she'll tell us what she thinks the government should do to avoid cases of sexual harassment. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Before we went on the break, we're about finding out what you think the government should do to avoid more increase of sexual harassment.
I think, Zuera, thank you for that, because it's one of the important, thing we should talk about, because it all, at the end of the day, it boils down to the law.
Yeah.
I think it's not about what the government should do. They've started doing it already, and there are laws in place. Even though we had those laws of vulnerable people, abused persons, that took over 13 years to be passed in, for the bill to be passed in the House, but at least it's been passed. So I feel the government should implement the already laws we have in place. Because we have those things in our constitutions already. Yeah. We have people that looking out for the vulnerable persons, the women affairs ministry, and all of that. So I feel the government should just enhance their implementation, because at the end of the day, it boils down to implementation. And the Senate is coming up to see if they could pass a bill that is going to a death sentence for rapists. So I feel it's something that is welcomed. We should keep doing what we're doing. Let the government keep doing what they are already doing.
Okay. Now, in a case whereby you are in a work environment and it's your direct boss that is sexually harassing you, how do you come out to speak for help?
We have societies that stand out for those people. If you're in a work environment and you feel there's nobody to talk to, we have NGOs. Go online. We have NGOs. We have the government parastatals. We have the police. And I can tell you, in every police station, I'm sure a lot of women don't know that, but in every police station in the country, there is always a standby officer that deals on sexual cases, on harassment in workplaces, and they are always available to listen. So if you think your boss is doing that and you can't do anything about it, run to the next police station.
Okay, on the final note, what advice do you have to ladies out there to avoid being sexually harassed, and to ladies that have already gone through it? What do you think they should do to come out?
I will start first of all with the ladies that have gone through it. It's truly a sad thing. It's not something every woman wants to actually be proud of. It's not something you want to talk about, but I will encourage you to speak, because I feel the best way to let pains go is when you talk about them. You must talk about them. People have to hear your story, and the moment they hear your stories, other women around learn from it. And in that way, yes, you're the victim, you can get help, people can help you, and of course the law will go after the person who abused you. And of course, for the women who are not here to be abused, we pray that nobody gets abused actually. So we don't even want to deeply talk on that. But as a woman, as an African woman, I encourage women to be at the right places. We're talking about drinking, know the people you hang out with, be in a safe environment at all times, moving around at night, and of course, dress as an African woman. In that way, as much as we say it's not you're not the cause of it, in that way, you tend to avoid a whole lot of these things.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Zoera.
And that's all we have on today's episode on Matter Africa. And remember, ladies, you are not what happened to you, but you're what you choose to become. A strong woman stands for herself. A stronger woman stands for everyone else. I'm Zoera Hamza. Bye for now.